All right, so welcome everyone. My name is Lazar. I work at Sentry, and I have a really cool workshop for you today. I'm going to take you through features in Sentry. We're going to debug a Next.js application that has a bunch of issues. It's an e-commerce website to buy yourself out of the issues that you have. So instead of fixing them, you can just buy a fix, right? So I'm going to post the guide of the, let me actually go to Zoom, the actual guide. If you want to follow along, and here's it also on YouTube if you want to follow along. It's a pretty cool Astra website. It takes you through the whole workshop, but since you're here, you can actually see me going through the workshop. And nice, Danny found the YouTube stream. Yeah, that's my channel, everyone. Yeah, all right, hope everything works. Let's begin. If you plan to follow along, of course, you need Git and Node.js, and also a free Sentry account. All right, it's free. There's no credit cards required to get registered, to get started, and there's also a free plan that gives you a lot. Okay. All right. So once you have all of that, I'm actually gonna clone and literally go from the very start. So I'm gonna clone the repo, and then I'm gonna open it in Cursor. There we go. Here's the error fix workshop repo. And just like any Next.js application, all we need to do is npm install first. There we go. We have a full stack application. It works on SQLite. There's a SQLite.db. It should be pre-populated for you if you're running this on your machine. The DB should contain all the data inside, but inside of the package.json, you can see there's a seed and migrate scripts. Feel free to use them. Repo link, of course. Yeah, it's in the guide, but yeah, it's on cody.de/errorfix workshop. There we go. Yeah. All right. Thanks for having my back, everyone. All right, we got npm install done. I'm just gonna run npm run dev, and let's see what's up, right? Let's see what the application is about. There we go. Code breaks, fix it faster, right? It's an e-commerce website, but there we go. The e-commerce website actually has bugs itself. So we can't buy fixes unless we fix the website that sells fixes, right? All right. Aaron McAdam, Lazar, what happened? Oh yeah, it's a long story. I'll tell you in Discord. All right. So apparently there's an issue, and if this is in production, we can't really get this right. We don't know what's going on in the background. So in order to gain access to everything that happens on the front end, on the back end, in the database, and basically everywhere, we need to install Sentry, right? And we've done basically all of this. We can jump into configuring Sentry, and the good thing is that it's literally just a one-liner. npx Sentry wizard with Next.js, because we're using the Next.js wizard, and everything's gonna happen over there. So I'm just gonna copy paste that command. And check this out. Are you using Sentry SaaS or self-hosted Sentry? What does that tell you? That tells you that Sentry is source available, that you can get the code of Sentry, put it on your server, run it, and use it for free. Just bring your own infrastructure, right? In this case, we're just going to use Sentry.io or the SaaS version of Sentry because it's much simpler. Do you have a Sentry account? Yep. And it's going to take us into Chrome or whatever browser we're using. We're going to pick an organization, pick a project. I don't have a project, so I'm just going to go ahead and create one, right? There's a create button over here. Let me know if you need me to zoom in or anything like that. But yeah, let's create a project. And we're going to call this error fix. That's the name of our e-commerce website. Team is pretty cool because we can have more people in different teams, and based on who needs to have access to this project, we can assign a team and then set that team to this project. And there are multiple, you can assign multiple teams to one project. All right, so everything looks good. Return to your terminal to complete the setup. There we go. Now, the wizard is gonna install Sentry Next.js, the SDK. And there we go. Do you want to route Sentry request in the browser through your Next.js server to avoid ad blockers? Here's the thing. The SDK lives both on the client side and on the server side. That means it's being pushed to the browser. When the SDK captures stuff, captures errors, captures performance metrics, etc., it needs to send it to Sentry, right? Whether that's your self-hosted version or you're using the SaaS, it doesn't matter. It needs to send them to Sentry. And some ad blockers, when they see that you're sending data, or like the website is sending data to a different origin, which is not your, I don't know, errorfix.com origin, your actual domain, they can block it. So there's an option to tunnel proxy all of those requests through your backend. And of course, it says it can increase your server load and hosting bill, because you're effectively, this will basically create an API route for you and just take whatever the client-side SDK receives and just send it over to Sentry. So I'm going to say yes, but depending on your environment and how you deploy and where you host, have that in mind. Do we want React component annotations? This is for session replays. It basically adds data attributes to the DOM elements of your React components that annotate this element is the root element of that React component. It's really good for debugging, because if you like open a website and inspect element, you see the whole DOM, but not necessarily what are the components. So this is going to do that. Of course, it is going to increase bundle size, but it's not going to overload it, right? We're talking about data attributes, that's all. Tracing, this is really important. We're going to use tracing. We're going to show a lot of tracing stuff later. So I'm going to say yes. Session replay, of course, it's like a video-like reproduction of errors. Literally, you get a video of, I'm going to say video, but it's not really. You get a video-like reproduction of the error of the screen at the moment where the error happened. So super cool, super important. Doing an example page. No, we are in an example repo, so we don't need any of those, but yeah, it's just going to create a page. And are we using a CI/CD tool? If we say yes, it's going to, it's basically going to print out the authentication token needed to send the source maps to Sentry. All right, so I'm going to say no, but that's the only difference. I'm going to say no. There we go, successfully installed. We have a question. Does the video replay work with React Native? I think we pushed that, and it was pretty recent. But yes, we do have session replay for even for native now, for native Android, etc. Yeah, we have a video YouTube on YouTube for it. Awesome, thank you, Cody. Right, so we have this already done. The wizard has done its job, and now we have a whole bunch of files, right? This is that Sentry build plugin file that I mentioned. Whenever we say npm run build, the source maps that are going to be produced will be uploaded to Sentry, right? And I'm going to showcase that right now. But aside from that, we have instrumentation.ts, which basically picks which, based on the runtime, which Sentry SDK we want to initialize, whether that's like the Node.js or the Edge SDK. Our next config is wrapped with the with Sentry config function, just the org and project, just a whole bunch of, here's the React component annotations. Yeah. In the package.json, we can see that there's the SDK installed here. And we have 3 files for the SDKs themselves. One for the client, for the browser, one for the Edge runtime, if we're using Edge runtime, and also one for the server, which is like Node.js, right? All of them points have like a DSN, which is basically your where is your Sentry, right? If it's self-hosted, it's going to be on your domain and then some other digits and numbers like this. Otherwise, it's going to be Sentry.io. There we go. And this is how we add integrations. And yeah, I'm not going to go too much into this. We have a whole bunch of stuff already. What I want to do now is run npm run build so that I can build it for production, and npm run start. And I'm missing an I. There we go. I want to simulate that this Next.js application is built, is ready for production, is deployed, and it's running on a Node.js server somewhere on Hetzner or whatever, right, in a VPS. That's why I want to do npm run build and npm run start. So this might take some time, of course, but as I mentioned, during this build process, all of these source maps are going to be collected and sent to Sentry. So that's how we can have, that's how we can basically have, yeah, I'm gonna show it to you later. Let me just find this Autofix project. So we can have beautiful stack traces. There we go, Autofix. That's how we can have beautiful stack traces in production, right? There we go. Now we are ready, running in production. You can still see the errors are showing. If I even like go ahead and try to, figure out what's going on, if I just inspect element, of course, it doesn't really tell us anything. Like, look at this, right? It's all minified, it's production ready code. So we can figure it out from there. But if we go to Sentry and hit refresh, we're actually going to get that error, right? API error with API/product 500 internal server error, right? So the first it was seen 29 seconds ago, and the last was seen 17 seconds ago because I did a refresh for 5 seconds, right? 11 events, total 1 user affected. This basically tells us, should we bother about this or not? But yeah, all of these are crucial information. Let's get into this. All right, this is the issue details or the error details page. And first we see like a good timeline strip where we can see how many errors happened, all the browsers, the environment, etc. We can see it's on Chrome, Mac OS, in production. This can happen, for example, in staging. If you have a staging, you can manage all of that. Right, there's the stack trace. For example, we couldn't see this in Chrome because we're running in production, but because we built it and we sent the source maps, we get literally the lines of the lines of the actual application, right? And there we go. Cody left us a little comment here. We're gonna figure that out later. But yeah, this is the stack trace, right? Here's the source maps loaded. We can see that the source maps are working indeed, are getting picked up. And this is that session replay. This is just like a little snippet of the actual moment where the error happens. Right? You can see how everything is basically obfuscated because we don't want to leak any private information. But yeah, this is a snapshot of the website. We can check out the full replay later. I'm going to show you to you. And we have some breadcrumbs. And these are like bottom to top. First, we navigated to the page or we hit refresh. Then there's a console output, loading products from API. Then a fetch happened. And then the error happened. There's the error message. And this is the one that the browser sees. And of course, there's this exception. It says this event, the one that we're actually here, right? Okay, there's a trace preview, and we're gonna use a lot the trace. So we click on full trace, we can basically see what the browser did. Here's the cache, the connect, the DNS, the request has been sent, the unload event. Here's how the browser loaded the fonts, the CSS, the JavaScript files, everything basically needed for the website. And then the API products happened. And then we can dip into the server side. So now we're in the server context right here. This happened on the backend. Fun fact, if this was, for example, a Python project or a Go project for the backend, we would see Python or Go related spans in here, right? So there we go. We see like a good timeline of everything that happened across all of these services, basically. All right, so we know that there's an issue, and the issue happened when we hit the /API/products, but we don't really see anything in here, right? We don't really see anything. Let me just show you what else is here. We get some tags regarding the environment and the device, additional context, etc. All right, so because we can't see anything, there's an error, but it's not really telling us anything. It just tells us that something happened in /API/product. So in order for me to gain more insights, I want to go to that file. So we're going to go app, API, products, and here's the route, right? And if you're following along, that's going to be issue number 1, right? We need to import Sentry this is our API route, this is our backend. So we're going to import Sentry, and we're going to uncomment this line. What basically happens is we have a get API handler. It does some things, get something from the DB, prepare some data, and then return it back. But we had a catch, and we just returned the JSON, and there is no exceptions being bubbled up, right? An exception or error was caught here, but because it's not a stray error, Sentry can't pick it up. We need to use the capture exception to manually send the error. Okay, so I got this one in here, and I'm not gonna do npm run build because we're gonna be here for hours if we rebuild. I'm just gonna do dev from this point on. But yeah, this is we saw how we can get the source maps up. So hit refresh. We need to wait for just a little bit. There we go. Nice, right? Here's the error. Same thing is here. But if we go back and restart or reload this, we're gonna see something extra. And let's give it like a minute. There we go. A new error has appeared, no such table product, right? That is the actual new error, but how do we know? We can even go back to the old one. There's going to be a new event, right? It's like 12 events at this point. If we, this is the old one, right? If we scroll down to the trace preview, we don't just see the trace, we also see one other issue appears to be in the same trace. So anything that happens on this trace gets resurfaced. So like this error is connected to the new error in that way. The trace in Sentry is a central point. Everything gets tied to a trace. Errors, session replays, profiles, because we do profiling in production, in the browser, on the backend, everywhere. Everything is basically tied to a trace. So if anything happens, run for the trace. Okay, you're gonna see everything in there. But yeah, we can click on this one. There we go. This is a new type of error, no such table product. We don't really see a stack trace in this one. First, we're running in dev mode. It's not really, production mode, etc. But we do have like some idea, no such table product, right? And it's an SQLite error, so we're probably doing some SQLite query trying to find anything that lives inside of the product table, but there is no such table. So it's 2025. I'm even using Cursor, as you saw. We're all using AI. We also have an AI in Sentry. So on the right side, you can see the Solutions Hub. And Sentry has your stack traces. It has basically has the code. There's also a GitHub integration, which will make this a much better experience. It knows the error. It can actually find the root cause for you. So let's give this a go, right? There's the GitHub integration. It's going to be a lot better if we enable GitHub integration, but even without it, it's going to produce results, right? So I'm going to start the Autofix, and I'm just going to let it do its thing. It's thinking out loud. You can not out loud, but you can see that here. There we go. The code attempts to query a product table, but only products exists. Interesting. This mismatch, blah, blah, blah. Okay. It was much faster than I can read, but yeah. The code attempts to execute a SQL query against the product table, singular. It doesn't exist. And then the API route handler catches the error and returns the 500 internal error. See, it figured it out. All right, there we go. So the solution at the end, based on according to the robot, is zoom in properly this time. There we go. Corrected the SQL query in app API. Oh my God. Okay. Corrected the SQL query in app API products routes to use the products table, resolving no such table error. So instead of this, we need to add a little products, right? So app API products routes. We're already in this file, the routes, and there we go. Actually, yeah, select everything from product. It doesn't exist. It's just like a plain typo. Typos happen, right? This is how this is how things happen in production as well. So let's see if this works. Actually, I'm gonna give it a refresh, and yep, we can see the products now. Okay, that has been fixed. We can see that there's no more errors. I'm going to go back now to the issues, and I'm going to select these two, and I'm going to click on resolve, right? That doesn't mean that I'm actually ignoring or deleting these. I'm just like marking them as resolved. If a regression happens, if they start to, if the same errors start to happen again, there's going to pop up again. But right now, I consider them resolved. All right, let's continue. This one is done. Something else is broken now. But if we try to pick products, let's say we have a hydration mismatch, bad gateway, n+1 query terminator. Yeah, let's, or unhandled exception. Let's get the n+1. All right, I want to buy 3 n+1 query terminator fixes. Yeah, there we go. Just another, just about to order this and another error happened. So let's go and see what Sentry has for us. We're going to see an error, but it's not going to be too much info in there as well, just because we keep forgetting to add that capture exception. Yeah. So we try to hit unable to reach product API for 4. That is the product ID, right? The breadcrumbs said, where is it? Get on API products and then the ID, and that's when the error happens. All right. So if I were to go to that one, products ID routes, yeah, again, we don't have Sentry. Maybe someone commented this out for development and forgot to enable this. All right, so let's capture that one again and see what happens. There we go. So just out of just the browser, this is like what happens on the browser, and we're able to catch this. But we need eyes on the backend. There we go. Again, no such table product. Okay, we can try the solutions hub again, but that's pretty much that's pretty much everything that happened. Like it's still a typo, right? So let's go ahead and figure out where that product is. There we go. Products, right? You should be using, like, don't you just write SQL queries like this. Use a library for that, and all the errors are going to be fixed. And see, there we go. Okay, so we are past this. That's how you can get more context on what happens on the background or what happens on the back end. Even if this is not a traditional monolith, even if you have multiple, I'm blanking on the word, but yeah, if it's not a monolith, if you have a microservice architecture, every service can have its own project in Sentry. And that's why the number of projects, even on the free account, on the free type of account, is unlimited. Right? There is no limit on how many projects in Sentry you can have. So yeah, there we go. All right, we got this one working. let's order n+1. We're using Sequelize, and we have 3 n+1s happening in production. So I'm just going to add these to the cart, and I'm going to go ahead and try to check out. All right. All right, so we need to log in, of course. For the demo purpose, any password will work with a valid email format. So let's do that. hello@sentry.io. Actually, password, there we go. Just gonna hit login. And there we go again, authentication failed. Please check your credentials and try again. This is different this time because we're just returning, we're just basically returning a 401 or 404. There is no error. There is nothing to be caught. All right. We can go ahead and turn on user feedback. It's a special integration, just like the replay is, and it's going to add a little pop-up, like a little button here that allows our users to manually report errors. But in order to debug this, let's just say someone tweeted us bad words, and we know that there's an issue with the authentication. What we can do in this case to debug basically an issue like this is we're going to be using tracing. All right. We already saw how the trace view looks like. We saw what it captures, but there's also option for us to add our very own spans and instrumentation. So let's open the store.ts, and we're going to replace the login functionality in here, the login function, with this one. And I'm going to walk you through the code. Store.ts. Actually, I want to import, not use router, but import everything as Sentry. And then find login. There we go, replaced. Okay, let's check out the code. Here's the login function, and this is on the client side. This get executed when we hit the login button, and we want to manually start a span right away. We're gonna name this login requests. The operation is gonna be auth.login. For custom, you can use whatever you want, but there are also some predefined operation names as well. And we can also attach a whole bunch of attributes to this span. For example, what is the auth header that we're sending? What is the method? Is it password or provider, like GitHub? What is the email domain, right? Whatever data we want and we want to pass it, we can add it there. And then we get the span, right? We can add more attributes later on as we go and capture additional messages if the response is not okay, etc. All right, so that's it for this one. We also want to instrument the server side, okay? The actual handler. So I'm gonna copy this whole block. And we need to go to API auth login route. API auth login route, there we go. Let's bring in Sentry, and I'm just going to replace the post handler, and it's pretty much the same. Start span, this is the login API requests. On the back end, here are the attributes. For example, what is the expected auth header name? In this case, what is the method? We can just add anything, right? All right, same thing. Yeah, let's just go ahead, save this, and retest the login flow. So I'm going to save, hit reload. There we go. Go back to checkout. hello@sentry.io, password, login. Okay, we've caused another issue, but let's go and see what we get now. What we should get is, there we go. If we ask Autofix, it's gonna tell us pretty much, the function, construct the authentication request with incorrect authentication error. But I want to show you the traces here. Okay, if we go to the trace explorer and look for login in Sentry, not here, we can see this here, but if we go to the traces explorer on the explore traces and look for span.description is login requests. This one, there's that login requests, right? The one that we manually set. So if I get into it, here's the login request on the client side. There's the issue assigned to it. Here's the login request on the backend as well. Again, the same issue is tied to that because, Sentry knows this is what happens. If we click into it, this is how we can see that this exact issue is what's causing to breakouts on the authentication flow. There we go. So yeah, we can go ahead, find root cause, use the solutions hub if we want, if we want to, a little push, but we can also use the stuff that we appended. So let me see. There's a breadcrumbs. There's a data. If you look at the attributes, these are filtered, and that's because everything gets scrubbed, basically all the sensitive information. So you're not leaking out any secrets. You're not leaking out private information that belong to users, not even you, right? If we need these to show up, we can actually whitelist what headers can be sent. But by default, Sentry is an opt-in rather than opt-out, right? Everything gets scrubbed. So your users are safe. You just need debugging data. You don't need their data. All right, so yeah, basically that was the case. We can see the operation here and all the additional data. And do we have an authentication header present? No. Is the wrong header present? Yeah. Okay, so this is on the back end. Let's go ahead and see what those values are. Do we have a header present? Authentication header, it says no. The request does not contain this header. And is the wrong header present? Yeah. Does it have authentication? Yeah, but what is the expected one? Well, the expected one is authorization. All right, so that is the case. I go back here, and if I see what we're actually sending, there's a login. There's the header name. If I click here, there we go, authentication. It should be authorization, right? That's what the backend basically expects. So yeah, things like these happen all the time because there's no type safety. There's maybe even like different languages. You get TypeScript on the front end or JavaScript. You get something else on the back end. Of course, let's try that again. I'm gonna go ahead, check out, login again, hello@sentry.io, password, hit login. Nice, there we go. Okay, so we're in, right? That was the actual case. So I'm just gonna get all of these and resolve them just so I can keep a clean slate whenever I visit here in issues and I see that, new issues. That means they're definitely not resolved by me. Okay, so we got that one done. The final issue is when we try to check out. Do not enter your your card number here. There's a use test payment data. Let's actually go ahead and try to put payment. Okay, there we go. An error occurred while processing your payment. We're like the last step, but there's one more error, and we're going to use breadcrumbs. And where was that written? Breadcrumbs and custom spans, just like we did previously, to figure this one out. Okay, like all of these things are tools that we can use to enrich the data, the debugging data that we receive. If you were to just use console logs, that would be too hard. Like you would need to create parsers, you would need to create a lot of tooling around your console.logs in order to make sense or like achieve a level, a detail level like this. And in the meantime, you're just going to reinvent this feature that Sentry gives it to you for free. So that's the thing. Let's get into the checkout page and add this breadcrumb just before we do the make purchase call. Okay. App checkout page. Let's bring in import everything as Sentry and scroll a bit down. We're going to see this, yeah, commented out. So we're going to add this breadcrumb just before we click the make purchase. And we want to see, we just want to capture what is the length of the cart, item count, give me all of the items in the cart and the total amount that we're trying to check out. All right, this here is okay. Then we go a bit lower in the store.ts, right? This is the make purchase function. We already have that one, but this one comes with instrumentation. So store.ts make purchase. This is the one I'm going to replace it. So you don't watch me type in all of this code and look at it. Start span. Oh, that's the login. We're not interested in the login. Where is the, there we go. Make purchase, client purchase requests, right? We're sending the number of items in the cart, the total amount, and all of the items in a JSON stringify, right? We're attaching this to that span. We do have some more stuff probably, but it doesn't matter. We want to see what we're sending from the client, because after this, we have the fetch. There's the post that sends everything to the server. So let's see what we're sending. Okay, I'm gonna skip this step because we also need to instrument the server side. Here's the post, and I'm gonna copy it, but this basically adds instrumentation on top of the existing route. Checkout purchase route. I'm going to import everything as Sentry, and I'm just going to replace the old post with the new. Again, server purchase processing, and we're extracting the cart data from the body, and we just want to log out or just like send stuff to Sentry. Stringify the body, check if the body has items, right? And put that as like a Boolean attribute. Give me all of those items, body.items, like put them there. Give me all the cart contents, if they exist. Otherwise, just set undefined over there, etc. That's basically it. We instrumented the whole flow, right? What's happening on the client side and what's being sent to the server, and then we're extracting stuff from the actual request and sending those things as well. And what we want to do is just, I didn't need to npm run diff, but still, right? Rerun this, try to check out again and see what happens. Let's go. There we go. Log in again. Hold on. I don't need to log in because I'm already logged in. So go to checkouts, use test payment data, pay. Okay. Now, this error basically contains a whole bunch of data. So I'm going to refresh here. Even if you see, or you might not see any data here, like any errors, depending on your setup. I do, but it doesn't really say anything. Your cart is empty. That's a lie, right? That's not the case. I added a whole bunch of instrumentation. So I'm going to go ahead in Explore and try to look for the, where is it? So here, server purchase processing. We want to jump straight into the client server side, but we can actually do client purchase requests. Or what was the name? Hold on. Purchase, there we go. Client purchase request, there should be a span over there. Maybe it's the server. Come on. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we needed a second for all the data to be loaded, but we have two. right? We have to, because I clicked it twice. Yeah, just go ahead and click on one of them because they're the same. Here's what happens on the client side. If we dig into the server, we're also going to see the server purchase processing span. So, okay, so we're sending here, we're receiving here. Let's dig into it. On the right side, we should be able to see the breadcrumb. Okay, there we go. We're starting to see some stuff. Here's the post, a get. There we go. Attempting checkout with one items, right? And if we item count is one, item details is the array, n+1 query terminator, that's what we're trying to check out. And this is the total amount. Okay, so we can assume that everything is okay on the client side. Let's check out the server side and what the server receives. Just gonna like do this basically. There we go. Okay. The body of the cart is, it has an items property with an array of all the items that we're trying to check out. This is the n+1 query terminator. The selected color is equalized. That's what we clicked. The quantity is 3. We need 3 of them. Okay, so nothing wrong here. The cart error is set to empty cart, and we did that a bit lower in the code here. There we go. Cart error is empty cart because there is no cart contents. We're gonna check that out. But does the cart has items? It does have, right? We can see it here. So we do receive the items. It's not that the client is not sending them, but the cart.items is undefined. There's the issue, right? There's some discrepancy here. So let's look into this. So cart.items is cart contents, and this claims that the cart contents either don't exist, or it's not an array, or it's an array but it's empty. That's why the cart error is set to empty cart. So if you look at the cart contents, we're actually looking at, we're just destructuring this from the body, right? The body doesn't actually have cart contents. It's just items, not cart contents. So there's the issue, right? We just prefix this with items, and we should be good. Let's see. Do a refresh, go here, checkout, use test payment data. And there we go. That was the actual issue. All right, so good job, everyone. That's pretty much it. These are basically the features that I wanted to show you. If you noticed, the trace is a really powerful tool for debugging. It basically lets you see everything that happens from the client side all the way to the backend, right? And as I mentioned, like even if you have a microservice architecture with a whole bunch of microservices, the trace can jump between them, collect all the data that needs to be collected, either through breadcrumbs or actual issues or custom spans, can collect everything, and you have an opportunity to see and to basically follow along the operation flow. Yeah, good luck doing this with logs. But yeah, tracing or tracing is like my go-to debugging technique whenever I try to, debug something that's not obvious at first. So yeah, there we have it. We learned how we can set up Sentry, right? It was a literal one-liner. We just triggered the wizard, and the wizard did everything for us. We learned how to capture exceptions. We do use try catch, right? It's like embedded, but if you don't let an error bubble up, you shouldn't, right? That's the proper way of handling errors, is to catch them. But every time you have a catch, you do need to capture that exception and send that to Sentry. Otherwise, it's not going to be captured. Sentry does capture these trays. So for example, if an exception gets thrown without, like outside of a try catch block, that's going to be called automatically by the SDK. But every time you have a try catch, you need to manually capture that exception. Okay. And then we saw tracing. We saw how we We can add like different spans manually. We saw that Sentry also gives us a lot of data. Let me see. Here's the navigation. I want to see like the actual trace. I'm going to go to performance here in the front end and trying to dig out one of them. Autofix. Just like one navigation. This one looks like a navigation one. If I just click probably here, we should see something good. There we go. Yeah. You see that Sentry, I didn't need to do anything, but here's when the font got loaded. And here's how much how much time it took. Here's the CSS, and that's the layout CSS, 21 milliseconds. This JS file, 19. This JS file, 25. Even if you have like performance issues on your front end and you have no idea what it is, there's no errors, it's just slow, you're going to catch them with the tracing as well. So yeah, manual instrumentation and automatic instrumentation. And we also saw breadcrumbs, span attributes. Basically, we can attach anything to a trace and it's going to, yeah, that's how we can bring all the data that we need to debug any type of issue to us. We have a really cool question from Danny. How do you set up traces between different projects? It's automatic. Okay, so let me try to show you this. If I go here, go to the network, and if I click into this, and I'm gonna try the checkout because the checkout is the most straightforward. It happens on the front end. It goes to the back end, right? I'm gonna clear out, trigger this, and here's the purchase, right? Now let me try to find that. You see this Sentry trace ID, and there's a whole bunch of numbers. This is basically the ID of the trace that automatically got created when we initialized the SDK. And that happens basically on every session, I would say, right? We have a new session, we have a new trace, so we can append stuff to it. The SDK itself taps into and sends this baggage header to every request that is of the same origin. So we're sending from localhost to localhost, it's going to have this baggage. That baggage contains the trace ID. And now on the server side of Next.js, that SDK, the Node.js SDK, looks at the baggage, it looks at the trace, and it says, all right, I'm not initializing a new trace. I'm just going to continue this one. But just so you know, that's how things happen. This is how we also send the replay ID, so that everything that happens on the backend is like part of the replay, etc. So yeah, the trace ID is literally a string and can be it basically can be sent anywhere from the client to the backend or from one microservice to a different microservice. As long as you can transfer text, you can send the trace ID and the next Sentry SDK will pick it up and contribute to that trace. So that's how traces are connected. All right, let's see the chat. Do we have any more questions? Harvey asked like Vanilla.js and Go backend. Vanilla.js is not going to have because that is being added by the Sentry SDK. But yeah. And Cody mentioned the Discord. Of course, you should check out our Discord and we can continue over there if anyone has a question. Yeah. Sentry sends baggage to the same origin. What about different origins? You can configure that one. For example, on the client config, you can add a thingy that's called not origin, but trace propagation targets. So on these trace propagation targets, you can basically do this. You have, I don't know, one this can be like api.myapp.com, and this can be like crons.myapp.com, like all of your backend projects or whatever, or just IP addresses, or whatever you're sending a requests. If it's, as long as it's added to the trace propagation targets, you can even send the baggage to other origins instead of the same one. And wildcards are accepted as well. Yeah. Yeah. Regex as well. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So this was nothing, honestly. Like Sentry has a lot more features. I saw Cody in the chat mention that we are working on logs. We do. It's they're gonna be out I assume soon. I don't want to put pressure on the folks, but yeah, we're working on logs as well. There's uptime monitoring. You have asked, can you connect traces between two projects? Yeah. Yes, and you don't need, like, as long as you send the trace, it doesn't matter if the backend has a different project, or in this case, it was like a meta framework with one project. Even in that case, when you click into like a backend, you see the Next.js. If that is a Django project, the Django's icon is going to be there. And if you're sending stuff to, let's say, Redis for caching, the Redis icon is going to be there. So like this is a pretty monotone, but you can get you can actually, let me show you. You can actually go to traces. So somewhere, there we go, trace view. There should be a screenshot of the different logos. But yeah, you saw a little bit there. Yeah, that's what the icon is there for. If you have multiple projects, they're automatically going to be connected. And yeah, aside from this, we also have uptime monitoring. It like lets you, when your servers are down, it sends you an alert. Crons, not all runs are equal. Like sometimes crons can fail, and you're gonna get like a good overview of which runs failed, which are didn't. Web vitals, I'm not sure if you noticed that, but maybe you didn't because I put this above. But for example, we're looking at a page navigation. We see LCP wasn't recorded, FCP is good, CLS is 0, great, TTFB is meh. So because it's like 377 milliseconds, so it can be better. But there's a whole insights page in here that let me just like select all the projects. That gives you like a good overview of all the web vitals based on every page in production. Like all of the opportunities for improvements are here. Historical data, how it fluctuates. Yeah, you got the web vitals. Release health, npm run build also triggers a release in Sentry, so it is being tagged. And if your release, or like if the last release introduced a whole bunch of bugs, we're gonna know. And also you saw the trace view as well. All right, so yeah, I would send you over to check out the documentation, check out the blog, because we have some pretty cool articles in there, like debugging specific stuff, images, fonts, whatever. And yeah, join our Discord. Let us know what you think. If you find an issue, we're source available. Go to GitHub, open a bug, etc. Yeah, thank you, everyone. We're actually on time. Let's see if there are any more questions. I don't see any more questions. And yeah, thanks for joining.